Today, our presentation is on the negative impacts on disabled people. The question is, what are the negative impacts on a person being disabled? If a person is disabled, then it can cause negative everyday challenges within a person's life, such as home life, emotional, physical, social, and work life.
One of the many ways that disabilities can negatively impact people is through their home life. Negative impacts include stress on the caregiver, financial struggles, and caregivers feeling uncomfortable with the amount of care that they have to provide. And your home life is a very important part of living, as your home is where you should feel safe. My empirical source is a study that was conducted in 2018 where they interviewed 12 mothers, children aging 1 to 6 years old that have lifelong neurodevelopmental delays. All children have multiple health issues, but 10 children were dependent on medical technology. Some of the mothers had stated that major challenges were being taken seriously when expressing their concerns to staff about their children, and that mothers had reported feeling vulnerable and full of doubt. Researchers found 4 themes that most of the mothers expressed. Those themes include starting out, keeping the show on the road, shouldering the burden, and the bigger picture. 75% to 95.5% agreed when being compared to a prior study. The different types of themes that were stated, starting out being when their child is born and fighting and advocating for their child. Keeping the show on the road is them finding ways to keep their home intact while also dealing with their child's disability. And shouldering the burden is them feeling like a burden to those around them from their child's disability, with them always being late. And the bigger picture is what their child is going to do when they aren't here. The conclusion to the empirical source is that most mothers did agree that they felt like a burden. They felt unbelieved when advocating for their child. The cost of care was very, very expensive, and the negative impact that the disability had on the family, and wishing they had more support emotionally, financially, and socially. Another source was a study where they interviewed 16 family caregivers in Iran, 6 mothers, 3 fathers, 3 sisters, 3 brothers, and 1 grandmother of people with intellectual disabilities in September to December of 2022. The interviewees reported experiencing negative consequences such as psychological pressure, stress, anxiety, and depression. The disabled people were 8 boys and 8 girls aged 1 to 23, and the conclusion is that when caring for someone full-time who has an intellectual disability, the challenges on the caregiver can be very stressful and can negatively impact the home life of everybody involved.
Next up, in the negative effects of being disabled, we have emotional effects. Here are some emotions and things that people who are considered disabled go through. We have anger, depression, anxiety, social constraints, mourning or sadness, isolation, loss of freedom or independence, low self-esteem, and the fear of death. All of these things contribute in the emotional effects that come from being disabled. Emotions are connected so many things, and if it isn't controlled and you don't have your EQ in check, then those in the situations will see more of themselves that they don't want to see. The emotional side of being disabled not only affects you personally, but your physical and social life too, as they are all connected to one another in one way or another. Many of those who are disabled enjoy working and studying a lot more than those who are able to do. If you think about it, it makes sense because when you don't have something, you miss it more and cherish it more, while when you have something, it's the complete opposite and easy to take for granted. A study that was conducted investigates patterns of mental health problems and well-being among children with disabilities in Sweden using a cross-sectional survey and cluster analysis, as it says in the title. They aimed to identify distinct patterns of mental health issues and well-being within this population. The study found that children with disabilities exhibited varying patterns of mental health problems and well-being, which could be categorized into different clusters, which is why clusters are even brought in. The aim of this study was firstly to investigate whether patterns of mental health problems and well-being could be identified in a sample of children with disabilities. It was also to see if such patterns were related to background factors in terms of parental immigration or not, parental level of education, and the child's cognitive level. And a quote from this study says, as expected, the children in the study displayed varying patterns of mental health problems and well-being and could be grouped together based on those patterns. Although that they said that, they also said this, which was while the study found various patterns of mental health problems and well-being in children with disabilities, the largest cluster of children in the study had no apparent mental health problems and had high levels of well-being. In conclusion, this was saying that there are many children who are disabled who display patterns of mental health problems, but there are also children who don't. Here are some benefits of balancing your EQ. So first off, it says, emotions other than our bones itself are the bone structure to who we are, and without them takes the humanity of us. But having emotions all over the place or letting them control you is just as bad. That's why you want or need a balance. And a few benefits of balancing it is social skills, decreased stress, improved communication, leadership, stronger relationships, overall motivation, and more conflict resolution. And here are some ways that you can improve and regulate your emotions so you can have the benefits as listed before. If you communicate clearly, you stay positive, be open-minded, listen to feedback, take a break sometimes, accept how you're feeling, practice mindfulness, get enough sleep, set priorities and boundaries with others and the things that you have, talk to someone, whether it's a therapist or a family member or friend, journal/have an outlet, and also relax. These are all ways that you can improve and regulate your emotions to have the benefits that you would like to see.
Another negative aspect for disabled people is the physical aspect. This is negative things such as limited range of motion, obesity, not being able to keep yourself clean. You have poor living conditions, such as a dirty house. You might not like the way you look. You might not have a body part, and you're more prone to injury or accidents. Um, an empirical source was a study by Aden University of Sports Sciences in Istanbul in 2024. They took the parents of 20 children diagnosed with autism, ranging from 8 to 12-year-olds. They wanted to conduct an investigation of the physical activity of children with ASD and assess the effects of these habits on their developmental progression and family life throughout the lens of the families. They found that they may have challenges with speech, language, difficulty learning, ADHD, and anxiety disorders. They interviewed them and their families in the different physical activities, and they found that children with ASD can be positively supported in multiple aspects of physical activities, which leads them to favorable outcomes. Another source was a study by the World Health Organization, which consisted of 155 Polish disabled individuals between the ages of 15 and 69 years old. They found that they did a questionnaire and the surveys of the sports among the Polish population were applied. They asked questions of how much physical activity they were getting and the different things that they were involved in. The results were 68.2 of the Polish adults performed a recommended dose of physical activity during their leisure time. On the other hand, an analysis of the participation in sports for all revealed that there was a lower number of participants, 10.3% were actually physically active. They found that there is a need to increase the activity of local authorities and governments in promoting participation in sports for the disabled Polish individuals. Some of the benefits of being physically active are improved physical health, such as cardiovascular health, enhanced mobility and interdependence, which is like muscle strength, flexibility, and weight management. The mobility and interdependence can improve functional abilities to allow yourself to perform daily tasks more easily and maintain interdependence. So you have enhanced quality of life, meaning it can increase your confidence, self-esteem, and overall life situation. The prevention of secondary health conditions such as pressure sores, obesity, diabetes, and cardiovascular disease. It can help you increase adaptability and resilience in places to be able to adapt to different atmospheres better. Some exercises to increase physical health are seated exercises, which are arm exercises, seated leg lifts, and seated core exercises. Wheelchair sports, which is sports such as basketball and wheelchair tennis. Mind-body exercises such as meditation, deep breathing, which these can help reduce stress and mental well-being. Stretch and flexibility exercises, which help maintain and improve flexibility. Customized exercise programs working with fitness professionals and develop a program to help your individual needs. Water exercises like swimming and water aerobics can help promote strength and flexibility, and resistant band workouts can help provide resistance without requiring heavy weights. Those are some of the negative and positive ways to increase your physical health while being disabled.
Another negative impact on the disabled is the negative social effects. The social life of the disabled affects many other aspects of their life as well. These effects can include work life, physical life, and home life. For my empirical research, in 2018, a study was conducted by 5 people from the University of Ninjabo. A total of 81 people participated. Out of the 81, 41 were disabled and 40 of them were abled. The empirical research found that among the 81 participants, the 41 disabled were more likely to interact with the able people, whereas the able people chose to keep to themselves. This just shows that there's a stigma between the able people and the disabled people. Having little to no social life can cause many health risks. One of these health risks include heart disease. It has also been known that being disabled and lonely can lead to an earlier death. Some of the benefits for the disabled is having a social life are better eating habits. Better eating habits can lead to a better physical life. A good and healthy social life can also reduce suicidal thoughts and chronic disease.
Another aspect that impacts the disabled is work life. The impact of work life on people with different disabilities can vary depending on various factors such as the type, severity of the disability, the nature of the work environment, accommodations, etc. Here is a list of different ways in which work life can impact the disabled: employment opportunities, financial stability, social inclusion, physical and emotional well-being, and career advancement. Some side effects include possible anxiety, self-doubt, insecurities, emotional stress, and being unappreciated. When having a job, this is your time to meet different people, connect, and share ideas with each other. Being disabled in the workplace can come with a lot of pressure because you are already skeptical about coming into work, being disabled, and being judged. After researching about work life, a study conducted by Gender Work and Organizations suggested that work-life balance had a negative impact of the overall self-care needs of disabled people. This study analyzed 66 males and female employees with different impairments. The conclusion is this study found that the work-life environment has a negative impact of self-care needs, meaning that the self-care needs of disabled people are overlooked and outside the workplace. This study also uncovered the experience of the 66 males and female employees had to deal with while being in the workplace trying to balance. Some benefits from work life includes builds patience, accommodations, supportive coworkers, assistant programs, and appreciation. Lastly, we have the action plan on how to empower the disabled.
One way we can empower the disabled is through their home life by providing additional support for those who live with disabilities and for those who take care of someone with disabilities, including additional financial support and helping to make sure that the house is accessible for them to use.
The emotional plan to empower the disabled is to make those who are disabled feel safe to feel their emotions and give them access to someone they can talk to often to regulate their emotions, because not everyone has a listening ear or a supportive family or friend behind them.
We can empower the disabled physically by providing adaptive equipment in stores or gyms. We can spread awareness and provide education and training on how to help disabled people be physically active. We could also have places have ramps and elevators to be able to go from place to place.
We can socially empower the disabled by, when going out into a social place, make sure it's accessible for the disabled to be able to enjoy their time just as much as anyone else. And we can also socially interact with them just as you would with any abled person.
The last way to empower the disabled is work life. When hiring any type of disabled person, make sure the work environment is friendly, safe, and easy accessible for their needs. Be mindful to know how your current employees are so that your disabled employees feel comfortable.
These are our empirical sources and our works cited.
Thanks for watching.